There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by the Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, CEO and founder, and I am honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through paying it forward and giving back. Ethical business owners and holistic healers who are determined to create collective change in the world. Once we have a change in consciousness and through collective change, we can become one. My next guest was recommended to me by another guest, where they pay it forward. Their mission is bold and full of impact and has the power of saving lives by saving trees. Kinari Webb is the founder of Health in Harmony, dedicated to solving global heating, understanding that rainforests are essential for the survival of humanity. Using the innovative process of radical listening, they collaborate with rainforest communities in Borneo and Madagascar to create the change the planet needs. Over the past 12 years, they've had an incredible impact, protecting over 56 million pounds of carbon being released into the atmosphere since 2017, regenerating 50,000 acres of forest, achieving a 90% decline in illegal logging, and protecting 3,000 endangered Bornean Orangutans habitat along with a number of community and health impacts. I hope in this conversation you see the power in collective change. When one person takes the first step and we each do our bit and get to the grassroots of what our planet, our home, needs. Welcome, Kinari, to the Ethical Evolution.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. You're doing really amazing work in the world.
Thank you so much. So are you. Now, can you tell us about your background and who you are and how Health in Harmony came about?
So when I was an undergraduate, did this kind of crazy thing where I went to Borneo to study orangutans. I thought I was going to become a primatologist and got this amazing opportunity to do this. But when I was there, my life took a very different turn.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I fell in love with the rainforest. 2% of the surface of the earth and 50% of the world's species, right? Like just incredibly beautiful. In the Bornean forest, there are trees that are 22 stories high. And these just amazing orangutans. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
But imagine one of those really big trees being cut down.
Mm.
It's like a little earthquake.
Yeah.
And you can hear it from so many miles away. And that was one of the constant sounds of being in the forest.
Really?
Was hearing it disappear from the edges.
Oh.
And I just hated those loggers.
Mm.
How could they destroy the lungs of the earth? How could they destroy the amazing habitat? I mean, what was going on with these terrible people, right? But then I got to know many of them.
Yeah.
And it turns out they were young farmers just trying to take care of their family. And what that usually meant is that they were logging to pay for healthcare.
Right.
I know one guy who cut down 60 trees to pay for a C-section. And these are giant, enormous rainforest trees.
Oh my God.
Now, eventually there were tons of money on the market, right? But this guy's just getting, tens to hundreds of dollars per tree.
Wow. Oh my God. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's horrible. And there was an interesting paper in Science last year that showed that actually 69% of the loss of carbon in the tropical rainforest is these individuals logging. It's not the clear cutting. That's a horrible problem.
Yeah.
But that's like 30% of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see anyone addressing this issue. And so, even now, there are very, very few people or organizations that are addressing, really looking at the folks who don't want to cut down the forest. They love the forest.
Yeah.
They're just forced to. So I ended up going to medical school and then coming back. I founded a nonprofit called Health in Harmony. like health and harmony with nature.
Yeah.
And we do what I call radical listening, which is to say that we ask the local communities around precious rainforests, what would you all need as a thank you from the world community so you could really protect this forest?
Mm.
It's like a fair transaction. They have something beautiful, a gift to give to the world, and they might need some gifts in return so they could actually protect it.
Wow.
And what they said was healthcare and organic farming training.
Wow.
We did that. 10 years later, we had a 90% drop in logging households. We stabilized the loss of primary forest. We had 52,000 acres of rainforest grow back. And the infant mortality dropped 67%.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like this true win-win where the people are healthier and happier, and the rainforest is with the, not only did we stop the deforestation, we reversed it.
Yeah.
The forest is growing back.
Oh my God. So just, oh, look at that impact. So how many people have you got helping you in Health and Harmony?
Yeah, it's a very good question because trust me, it'd be impossible for me to
I know,
have
right?
much impact myself. There is an incredible crew of Indonesian folks. We
Yeah.
have 110 employees in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And we have 8 global employees who help support. We've also now started in Madagascar. So we have 2 sites in Borneo, 1 in Madagascar, and we're about to start in Brazil. So we have 3 employees in Madagascar at the moment, but we'll soon be expanding quite a bit.
Yeah. And you probably know our friends at Trevotion as well.
No, I don't know.
No, you
them.
don't? Oh.
No. Better find out.
Yeah. So they actually are on a similar mission to you, and they're actually trying to obviously plant more trees in those regions by actually through a social enterprise where you buy a bracelet that's got special meaning. It's been blessed and it's been handmade. It actually helps the economies of local communities. You get a certificate and you get to choose where your trees get planted around the world.
I love it.
So I've actually bought one, an amber bracelet, and I got a tree certificate, and I got 2 trees planted here in Australia. So you can.
Oh my God! And you all need it so badly
I know.
right now.
Yeah.
It's been just devastating. So sad to see what's happened in Australia. Thank you for helping plant back.
Yeah. So a very similar kind of mission is that we're trying to get more trees back into those, the Earth's lungs, as you said. So. I think it's people like you and Trevotion that are the people who really make a difference, to our world. And thank you.
Well, thank you too. It's like it takes all of us, and we each have our part to play.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has our part to play.
Mm.
If you're little, if you're a subsistence agriculturalist living in Borneo, you have a part to play. If you're, someone who has more resources in the world, you have a big part to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all have a big part.
So, no doubt you've got a big mission behind this. What is that?
Well, we actually are hoping to, we are going, let's be very clear here.
Yeah.
To save 50 million acres of rainforest by 2030. And the reason that we chose 2030 is because scientists tell us that's about how long we have to start drawing down the carbon in the atmosphere and have the amount of carbon we're still releasing. That is not very much time.
No, that's 10 years.
Especially since we're just on a trajectory of increasing right now and of losing forest.
Yeah. But
I believe we can do it. And by working together and really listening to communities, I believe we can do it.
Yeah. And the challenge, I think, is as well, because so much rainforest is being logged, it's difficult to keep up with the pace because the trees don't grow as quickly. And a lot of those regions don't have the local infrastructure or resources to actually get those trees in there and keep them there. So that's the challenge that we face.
Yeah. It is an enormous challenge, but I've seen it's totally possible that we can do it.
Yeah.
But it takes not thinking in silos.
Yeah.
we have this, it's a very Western mindset. Indigenous peoples don't tend to look at the world this way, and they're right, right? Like this idea of, well, here is, the box of healthcare.
Yeah.
Here is the box of economic, well-being, and here is the box of conservation, and there the twain shall meet, right?
Yeah.
But that's ridiculous, right? It doesn't work that way. It's all totally intertwined. And when we ask communities who live around rainforest what they would need, they totally see the intersections, right? Like they understand that if they don't have access to healthcare, they don't have a choice but to log.
Yeah.
And how could I possibly blame them, right? If a family member of mine were sick, of course I would do whatever it took to get them well.
Yeah, and
So,
I think the other thing to that as well is, when we look more globally, when we look at the planet, there is no countries, there is no boundaries. It is one thing.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we've got to look at is this is our planet, this is our home, and not actually look at it as countries and governments and all that segregation that we put in the way.
You're so right. So when I have a problem a little bit with counting it in this way, but we also did put a carbon value on the amount of rainforest that these communities save.
Yeah.
And that carbon value was $53 million worth of carbon. And during the first 10 years of the program, we spent $3 million on giving these gifts to these communities of high quality healthcare, training of local healthcare providers. We actually ended up building a hospital. We did all this training in organic farming. We had a whole bunch of different exciting programs like Goats for Widows. But all of that cost $3 million.
Yeah.
So the world gave this gift of $3 million to the communities, and they gave back $53 million.
Oh my God.
I mean, and that's not even a totally fair way to count it, right? That just counts the carbon. It doesn't count all the biodiversity. It doesn't count the fact that these trees will continue to suck down carbon from the atmosphere for as long as they live.
Yeah.
And then there's the value of beauty. Right? Some of the most beautiful places on the planet.
Incredible. So that just makes me wonder then, how are you funded?
Yeah, so we are funded by amazing people from all over the world who want to give a gift of thanks. Sometimes those are foundations. Sometimes they're just individuals.
Okay.
And we also have a carbon program where people can offset like their travel by planting trees. And people in the communities around the national parks where we work, they can actually pay for their healthcare with seedlings. And then they also get discounts for their healthcare if their community is protecting the forest. So you can always get access to care, but like that difference is paid for by folks from all over the world who want to partner with these communities.
I love that. That is you've basically created a global community.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's exactly like you said, there is no boundaries.
No.
And I also think that we've really seen of late that if we rely on governments to solve these problems, we won't make it.
That's it.
And that's not really, that's not just the government's fault. The government's job effectively is to think about its own country. But climate change is a threat that we are facing that isn't about a country.
No.
It's about any country.
Yeah.
And if we don't start thinking about ourselves as all interconnected and all having something to give to the solution, we just won't make it. As a human species, we're not going to make it.
It's so true. That's so scary at the same time.
I know.
Yeah. But on a more positive note, can you tell us about some of those people that you've helped and the impact that you've made so far?
One of the stories that I like to tell is of this man who said, before this program came, we had no hope. But now we know change is possible. And that is just like, you really see that in all the communities. And recently I was in one of the villages near the national park in West Borneo where we work, Indonesian Borneo. And one of the village chiefs gave a speech and he said, we are the pathfinders for where the world needs to go. We have shown that it is possible to live in balance with the environment and for both to thrive. And now we want to teach the world. And,
Wow.
and that, and it's true because they designed the program. They knew what the solutions were. And now they need to teach the world.
Yeah.
And so we're helping them do that, right? Like there's our second site in Borneo and now in Madagascar, and we'll start as well this year in Brazil.
Incredible. Oh, I love that. That is so cool. So what, this wouldn't have been easy to set up. So what's been your biggest challenge so far and how'd you overcome it?
So one of the biggest challenges when we first started was the lack of quality education in a rural part of Borneo.
Yeah.
It's not that they aren't intelligent. Incredibly intelligent, just had no opportunities and no education. So what that ended up meaning was that we had to just do an incredible amount of capacity building.
Yeah.
And, Emma, she's just our incredible accountant. She's one of the most remarkable women you will ever meet.
Yeah.
And she has just a high school education, which actually in that area is rare, the fact that she even had a high school education. But she came, I hired her from this little hut across the street from our little clinic. It was like literally a shack, one room shack with like 12 people living in it. And but she was really good with math. And we hired her to initially like help just be our cashier, but then slowly over time, I started teaching her about accounting. And then when we got internet for the first time, I found out that she was sneaking into the clinic at night and taking online courses in accounting. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy because I'm like doing the accounting on the weekends and it's like not working. And she's just one example, like one of our community health workers became the first female village chief.
Wow.
And we have mostly women who run the program. And it's just been such a delight to watch them go from very few opportunities, very little education. Hamisa, who's the first village chief, she'd never used a computer when she came to work for us. She was terrified of talking to the government, but she got more and more confidence. And then until her whole village was like, you need to be our chief.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I love that. And that's another theme that I'm seeing through doing these conversations on the podcast is that a lot of people who are helping those regions where they're a little bit more disadvantaged and empowering women, this is where true change happens.
These are the people who are going to save this planet, I'm telling you.
I know.
And for me, it's been such a joy too. I actually had another enormous challenge, which is that I was stung by a box jellyfish in 2011. And I nearly died. And then I actually was sick for 4 years and 2 years in bed. And so I had to like transfer what I've been doing. And now the team is 100 in Indonesia, 100% Indonesian. They run everything on their own. I mean, it's just been this beautiful transition to watch that. To see them be world leaders. And I think Indonesia is going to become the world leader in how to do planetary health.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And show the rest of the world how to do it. It's going to flip around where the developing world is going to become the world leaders.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm seeing so much of that come out of Indonesia, and it's just so heartwarming to see that, in such a beautiful place with so many natural resources that are under threat, they're really making the change. So rest of the world needs to wake up and watch, I think.
I know, and it's so sad and it's so terrifying because when you go over tipping points, it can happen like what happened in Australia this last year.
Yeah, and it's, I can't even find words for what's been happening down here, but, we're real, and we thank everyone for the support. It's been absolutely incredible. But I have to ask you, can you define for me what being ethical means to you?
So For me, it's about like living in alignment with your inner voice of wisdom, like really connecting to that truth. And I believe like we all have this capacity when we really, really step into that inner knowing. We live in balance with the earth, in balance with other humans. We recognize that we're not the center of the universe, that in fact there are no boundaries, and that we're all one, as you say.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so funny when people are reflecting back, the realization that I've had in doing this. So thank you so much. So I've got to ask, what are the future plans for Health and Harmony, and how are you going to continue to grow the mission and pay it forward?
So this is like, in some sense, I wish we could go slow, right? I do, right? Like if we could go slow and just make sure everything, just like calmly and happily. No, we can't, because the planet, as Greta Thunberg says, we're on fire.
Yeah.
Literally, we are on fire.
Yeah.
And when you are on fire, you don't have a choice. You just have to move as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. And we're just, every way that we can possibly do that, we're doing that. So we're looking at how to work with the Indonesian government to potentially expand this across Indonesia. We're looking at working in Brazil, in the Xingu Basin, which is a huge, enormous area of the Amazon rainforest, that if we lose that, we'll probably lose all of the Amazon. It's again one of those tipping points. If you lose too much of the forest, it doesn't produce enough rain to keep the rest of it from burning.
Right.
And so we really, it's been identified as the most important area of the Amazon. And so we really want to work there as well. And then we were thinking about how to scale within 10 years, which is like, right?
Yeah.
To the whole world.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how would it be, what would it mean if there was radical listening around with rainforest communities around precious ecosystems all over the world? And then connecting those needs to all of those of us who want to partner with the rainforest communities, who want to help them have a better life and save their forest at the same time. So far, we've never been anywhere that didn't involve healthcare.
Yeah.
But we're open to the possibility it won't be that. But so far, healthcare and an alternative livelihood seem to be the most important things.
Yeah.
And we can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're like simultaneously developing a technological platform to try and make that happen.
Awesome. Now, as you were talking then, I was getting this vision, right, of it's almost, you were talking of the villages and it's almost getting back to the indigenous roots, or it is getting back to the indigenous roots of all those regions around the world,
Yes.
and having elders who protect those sacred sites.
Yes.
And that's basically, and that's another theme I'm picking up, is that it's almost like we need a reverse evolution.
Yes.
Like we got to go back to the way we used to do things.
Yes, totally. And we need to listen to their wisdom.
Yeah.
And partner with them, but under their control, under their determination of what the solutions are.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of having to control it and have our own way. Yeah.
And we're wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no conceivable way an outsider coming in can say, oh, these are the right solutions for you. No, wrong.
Yeah. Because we were part of the problem.
Yeah. And then when the communities around Gunung Paleng National Park now come to me, they will often say, God, when I designed this program, I did such a good job. And they're right, because they did design it and they did do such a great job.
Yeah.
And that's a very different relationship, to change.
Yeah. So how can people support the greater good and get involved in what you do?
Well, www.healthandharmony.org.
Yep.
Please partner with us. If you're traveling, consider planting trees to offset those costs. Of course, we would all prefer we were moving completely away from fossil fuels, and we should be doing that. And in the interim, while some parts of that are tricky, it's good to offset and partner with these rainforest communities. Listen to them. And together we can do it. I know we can.
Yeah. We're going to share some links on our socials and get people coming your way. I do also want to ask you about the orangutans.
Yeah.
What
3,000 orangutans in our first site.
Yeah.
They're such amazing creatures. They're so human-like. It's really quite stunning.
Yeah. So what kind of impact has it had on them?
Yeah, so our first site, which is called Gunung Palung National Park, is probably the most important place for orangutans in Indonesia because there's lots of different habitat in that national park. And so the orangutans can kind of move between different habitats based on which one is fruiting the most.
Yeah.
And what that means is that they have babies every 4 years as opposed to every 8 years, which is the standard for orangutans elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so there's just like more fruit and more, more resources for them. And so it's been incredibly important for us to protect that national park and to allow the forest to even expand as not only naturally, but also with reforestation in areas that won't grow back on their own.
Yep.
We also, when we have the patients pay for their healthcare with seedlings, or people offset for their carbon, we have been taking those seedlings and planting them in corridors that connect fragmented areas of the park that where the orangutans couldn't get through anymore.
Yeah.
And when we recreated these corridors, we put in camera traps, and we found that they are working, and we know they're working because there's a number of orangutans who've taken selfies on the camera trap trying to check out what is this thing.
Oh my God, I hope you share those. That's incredible.
Yeah, so that's been really great. That's really working. And of course, a lot of all the other creatures go through as well, but it's been, we tend to particularly love orangutans.
Oh my God, I love that. Orangutan selfies, yes, please. So this is a big question, and I absolutely love asking it because everybody gives me a different answer, but it's so profound. What's the change you'd like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
The change that I want to see in the world is that we actually learn to live in balance with our earth.
Yeah.
And that we do it quickly. Because if we don't do that, it won't matter what else anyone wants. Because we won't have the opportunity to make that happen.
Yeah. Wow. It is it really is a bit of a smack in the face, isn't it? And we need to wake up, and we need to make a change now. And thank goodness for people like you and Health in Harmony who are helping that change happen.
Well, thank goodness for people like you too. It takes all of us. We all have our part to play.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Now I have to thank you, Kinari, joining me all the way from San Francisco today. And let's stay in touch because I think there's big things coming for both of us. And I can't thank you enough for being a part of the ethical evolution.
Oh, and can't thank you enough too. And I'll soon be coming your way. Well, not quite your way, but I'll be in Borneo in a few weeks.
Oh, so. I'll wave from over here. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're an ethical business owner, change maker, or holistic healer who's determined to make a change in the world and you need support to spread your message, visit ethicalchangeagency.com to collaborate.
Welcome to Tuning Into Sound Wellbeing, where we harmonise your mind, body and soul. I'm Amanda, your sound therapy expert.
And I'm Stephen, the curious explorer uncovering the mysteries of sound.
Together we explore vibrations, frequencies and the power of sound therapy and tuning forks.
Discover ancient wisdom, reduce stress and tune into a healthier life. Subscribe to Tuning Into Sound Wellbeing today.
Are you passionate about saving the planet for future generations? Do you want to learn how to do it? If yes, then you need to tune in to the Nature Backed podcast. It's a talk show covering the changing world around us, from renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, circular economy, to ESG and social innovation. Don't miss this opportunity to discover how you can join the movement and make a difference. Subscribe to the Nature Backed podcast today on your favorite platform and get ready to be amazed.
Electricast.